All righty, so we are ready to go. We have someone, I don't even need to introduce him. Everyone knows who he is, a legend, great Giants YouTube content creator, Chris the Entertainah. Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it.
No, Vince, man, thank you for having me on, man. I told you before we went live, I've been watching your channel for a while. Matter of fact, I think you started before I did. You were one of the first guys I started watching, and then I know you got a job with the Tigers, and then you came back. And yeah, I've been watching your channel. I actually really enjoy your channel. I think you do a really good job, especially since you came back from the Tigers, because I'm a huge Eli fan. And you used to go at Eli a little bit, but outside of that, I always like your channel because you always come with a really well informed opinion, and yeah, I respect what you do. You do a really good job.
Thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, it's good to finally have you on. We've definitely been we've been around a couple of years. I guess, like you said, I was doing this. I was with it before. I was with the Tigers, and I came back, and I'm glad to be back. I love doing this stuff, and I know you love doing this stuff. You do a great job posting content every single day. It's pretty amazing. So
you've been doing it every day too. You've been doing it almost every day.
I'm trying. Sometimes I get a little bit lazy and I miss a couple days here and there, but whatever. All right, so let's get into the Giants, right? The Giants, the state of the Giants, a miraculous comeback here, right? Tough start to the season. They are now in first place. It's incredible. So tell me, I want your thoughts. Joe Judge, Patrick Graham putting together his defense. Right now they're second in quarterback knockdown percentage. They're eighth in pressure percentage. I mean, they have like no edge rushers left, and they're still doing this. Carter, Jimenez, Golden, and give me your thoughts on this Giants comeback.
And now Fackrell's on the IR too.
Fackrell too, yeah.
Fackrell's on the IR too. Now you got Nico Lalos getting interceptions. The Patrick Graham to me is just he's a mastermind, and I was a little worried when they first brought him in, and I liked him. He seemed like a really intelligent guy, but he got his play calling duties revoked in Miami. Came over to New York. I loved all the coaching hires for the most part. I thought he was the biggest question mark. And the most ironic thing is he's been far and away the best coach that the New York Giants have under Joe Judge. The defense is unbelievable. I never would have thought they would have been this good. They are fourth in the league in turnovers created as well. I like to get on that knockdown statistic because I actually pointed that out a couple of weeks ago. They were actually first a couple of weeks ago. They've been unbelievable in that area. And the other thing that I noticed, the turnover differential. They went from minus 17 last in the league last year. They're now plus 2. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that they've created the fourth most turnovers in the league. The way they've been able to generate pressure and just come with different looks each and every week. Like one week they may be blitzing a lot more than other weeks. It's unpredictable, kind of like Joe Judge said when he first took the job. But overall, I think the defense has been much better than you could have anticipated.
Of course, especially since last year. I mean, last year they were 27th in defensive EPA, pass defense EPA. They were struggling. Obviously, added James Bradbury. Jabril Peppers is back, and he's playing outstanding. Logan Ryan, that addition's been great as well. I want your take on Joe Judge. I know you're a big Joe Judge guy. What is he doing with these New York Giants right now?
I love Joe Judge. And when they were doing the coaching search, I say this all the time. I was doing videos for all the potential hires. They had like 6 guys lined up. And the funniest thing is, like, they were all getting like 4,000 or 5,000 views at the time. Joe Judge got like 1,000. Like, everybody was like, I don't even got to bother. And I went back and looked at the video, and I knew nothing about the guy other than that he coached for New England before I did some research. And I remember being impressed with his resume, and I didn't think they'd hire him. It didn't sound like a typical New York Giants hire, special teams coordinator. But I remember saying, this is a guy who got a doctorate degree while he's coaching in New England. He seems like a hardworking guy. And I think he just won the hearts over most New York Giants fans with the opening press conference. Like, he was terrific. And you could tell from that press conference, you could see why he impressed the New York Giants. And, I mean, he's a man of his word. That's the one thing I could say about him, man. He's come in, he said he's a disciplinarian, and he doesn't let the media faze him. Like, the media's taking every shot they can at this guy, with the tennis balls, with the practicing in the rain and everything. You know, the Belichick disciple. He just lets it roll off his shoulders, and he's been fantastic. I love him. I absolutely love Joe Judge.
And I think he's the perfect coach for the New York Giants. I think just when you think about their recent success, the recent Super Bowl success with Tom Coughlin and that team, and just growing up, I mean, I was young when that team was winning Super Bowls, but like I just loved the togetherness, like the teamwork of those teams. It wasn't just a guy, especially 2017. It wasn't just one guy who was great, who was just carrying them. Eli kind of did that in 2011, but in 2007, that was a team. That was a team effort. They started out 0-2, and I mean, I used to love watching the DVDs. I had the DVDs and everything. I just loved that team specifically, and it kind of feels like Joe Judge is bringing that again with the current New York Giants, so it's awesome to see. So Daniel Jones, he's trending up 4 of his last 6 games at a QBR, which is on a scale of 100. I know some people sometimes say QBR and they mean pass rating, and they get kind of but QBR on a scale of 0 to 100, 78 or higher in 4 of the last 6 games. It would have been 80 or higher in 4 of the last 6 games if Evan Ingram wasn't tipping passes and dropping passes against the Eagles in that first one. He's been playing great last 2 games. His yards per attempt is around 8 or higher. He's playing better. The offensive line's playing better. He's hurt, okay? And we've heard conflicting reports here on Daniel Jones and where he stands. It looks like he has a chance to play Sunday. Probably won't. But what would you do? I mean, this is a big game right here against the Seattle Seahawks.
I sit him. I'm not going to take that chance in a year like this. And I'm as excited as everybody else to get a chance to see this guy play and hopefully in a playoff game this year and lead us to the playoffs. And we have an opportunity. And you don't want to throw that opportunity away. But at the end of the day, this guy's the future of the franchise, or at least we hope he is, at the quarterback position long term. I don't want to mess with that. And if he's not 100%, I'm not throwing him out there. We still got 3 more games. I don't think anybody's going to run away with this division. As long as we win 1 out of the next 4, I think the Giants are going to be playing for the division in the last week. I think if they win 6 games and one of the games is against Dallas, I think we have at least a 50% chance to go to the playoffs. I'm not rushing them back this week. I still think I'm not picking us this week, but I still think even without Jones, we could play a competitive football game against Seattle. They don't impress me. Their defense is not good. Russell Wilson's phenomenal, but I think if we could do what we've done, and you mentioned going back to the old school roots with the blue collar, that's what New York Giants football's always been about. And that's what they're getting back to. They're getting back to that run-first approach, or at least that balanced approach. They ran the ball 42 times this week. They ran the ball 36 times the week before. That's what New York Giants football is about. If this offensive line continues to progress the way they've been progressing, and you could keep setting up that run, there's no reason to think that Colt McCoy can't be a game manager in this game and at least keep us in the football game. But I'm not rushing Daniel Jones back. It's just not worth it to me to risk his future.
Of course, and I think that's a great segue. I want to talk about the Giants' offensive line. So now it's December. So December football is, it's a different animal. It's not always, the weather's not always perfect, some snow, it gets a little bit cold out there. The Giants' offensive line, you look at them right now, in terms of run block win rate, they're 13th as a unit. Pretty good, especially for a young unit with a bunch of new pieces being rotated in and out. You have Nick Gates, who's this week, now he's the 10th ranked center in terms of run block win rate. Will Hernandez is 3rd. Shane Lemieux and Andrew Thomas in terms of a pass protection perspective.
Will Hernandez is 3rd in the entire league?
He's 3rd. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. A lot of people get on Will Hernandez because he was a 2nd-round pick, so they expect him to be like an all-pro. Yeah. Oh. I think he's a solid player, and a lot of people do criticize him, but the numbers don't lie. Run block win rate, he's been one of the best guards in the league this year. And Wayne Gallman right now, rush yards over expectation. He's 3rd among running backs, so he's getting more yards than he's supposed to. He's a tough running back. He's like an old-school running back. He runs through people. So the Giants' offensive line, they're starting to trend in the right direction. What is your take on where they are right now?
I love it. If anybody that watches my channel knows that's all I talked about this offseason. I said I wanted them to go tackle, fix the offensive line. It's something that the New York Giants have not had since really the first half of Eli Manning's career. I mean, the offensive line's been a complete joke since like 2012 on. I personally think that had a lot to do with the Eli Manning's fall. At least from like 12 to 15 or 16, they couldn't block, they couldn't set up blocks, and it's nice to see them get back to that. I think the most important part of a football team as a unit is the offensive line. As an individual position, it's the quarterback. But as an overall unit, I think you need a sound offensive line, and the New York Giants have gotten back to that. And I remember back to the days when I was younger and they're winning those Super Bowls. Those offensive lines were fantastic. That's how you win. And I was born in 85, so I grew up with the great Cowboys teams in the early 90s, and that's how they built their team. And that was always my mentality. And that's why I was always a Gettleman guy when he came on here. I loved his philosophy. He doesn't always do everything that I love, but I loved his philosophy. You build from the inside out. And this offensive line has been so much better. The first 3 weeks, they couldn't block to save their lives. And then the Rams game, even before Barkley went down, Barkley got hurt in the Rams game, right? I think it was the Rams game, if I'm not mistaken.
It
was the Bears game. It was earlier. The second half of that Rams game, you really started to see this offensive line take shape.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And since then, it's just getting progressively better and better and better and better. And this week, it really just came all together. And a lot of people were talking about the coaching change with the offensive line. Is that going to have an effect?
Mm-hmm.
They look even better with Coach Cougs. And Joe Judge has a lot to do with that. He made that adjustment 3 weeks ago. The run blocking, like you said, Wayne Gallman's running like a truck, but they're every time they take the ball, they have 2 yards of a push. When Barkley was in there the first 2 weeks, he was getting hit 3 yards in the backfield every time. So the evolution of the offensive line has been tremendous, and it's probably why I'm so optimistic as I am about the future of this football team.
Of course, and so many young pieces and controllable young pieces. I mean, Shane Lemieux, Matt Parrott, those guys are rookies. Nick Gates signed a contract extension this past offseason, very team-friendly contract extension. Obviously, Andrew Thomas will be under contract for many years. So this is a unit that can really grow up together, just like those units of, David Deal, Rich Soybart, O'Hara, Kareem McKenzie, Chris Snead. Those guys, they grew up together. That was a unit that stayed together for many years. So the Giants are in position to do that, and it's going to be fun to watch moving forward. So let's move on to Dave Gettleman, right? We have to talk about Dave Gettleman. So I talk about this all the time on Twitter, the anti-Dave Gettleman narrative. I have no problem with people holding him accountable or holding a coach accountable or a player accountable and saying they're not doing enough here, they need to do better. That's fine. I understand that. But with Gettleman, it seems like there are many people who just, don't want to give him credit for anything that he does, anything positive that he does, or it's almost like they root against the guy. Like they just want him to fail. They want him to flop and get fired. And I just find that weird. If you're going to root for a team, sure, hold the GM accountable, but also be fair, and you want the guy to do well, don't you? I don't know why you would root for his failure. So he's made some good moves, especially over the past year in terms of their defense. Added Bradbury, Blake Martinez, Leonard Williams. Those are big moves that he made. Obviously, they're paying off. They're playing very well on defense lately. And in general, I was someone who was critical early on in Dave Gettleman's tenure, 2018, because they were
rightfully so. Yeah.
And I mean, they were trying to win now in 2018, and they didn't. They started off 1-7. They weren't very good. But then they committed to the rebuild, which I kind of thought they should have done earlier. But they committed to the rebuild. I'm like, all right, well, let's give the guy a shot. I mean, rebuild doesn't happen overnight. And right now they're moving in a positive direction. So what's your take on Gettleman and his current rebuild? What's going on right now?
Yeah, the first mistake they made, like you said, was they tried to win and rebuild at the same time. I think that's more on Mara. That's just my personal opinion. I think Mara wanted to hold on to Eli. I think he gave the job to Gettleman, and Gettleman, he's told him, you got to try to get Eli Manning another shot. You got to try to get him to the playoffs. And I never thought it was fair to Eli, to be honest with you. I thought they should have moved on from Eli, give him a better opportunity somewhere else. It never fit the timeline. Like, I always thought Eli, if he was in a situation like Breeze was with the Saints, and they fixed that offensive line, they had that great team around them, maybe he would have been able to manage a game, but the Giants were never equipped to be able to do that, and they weren't close to being able to do that. So I never agreed with it. They shouldn't have tried to win and rebuild at the same time. It's impossible. You can't do it. So I always put that more in Mara, even though I think it's fair, like you said, to criticize him. The Ogletree trade was bad. The Solder thing, even though I think almost anybody, if they're being honest, would have done it, didn't work out. That was, that didn't work out. But if we're just fast forwarding to this year, and I would have been on board with firing Gettleman after 2019, even though I like some of the things he was doing, because it would have been a fresh start. If you brought a new coach, you bring in a new GM, I would have understood it. But once you brought back Gettleman, to me, it's almost a fresh start for Gettleman. It's a new regime. It's a coach. It's a GM. You want those two to be connected to each other. You can still remember the mistakes he made. He put us in that spot. But you brought a new head coach. This offseason, I can't think of one bad thing the guy did. I mean, you mentioned some of the moves. I could talk about Logan Ryan. I could talk about that provision they made with Marcus Golden, getting him back and getting a free 6th-round pick out of it, basically. I could talk about extending Nick Gates before the year started, and now they're paying him $3 million a year over the next 2 years. If they would have waited, they probably would have to pay him $8 or $9 million a year. I could talk about the 7th-round trade for Isaac Yiadom, who's playing well, for a 7th-round draft pick. He's made so many little moves that people don't even give him credit for. He's had a perfect offseason, and the draft was good. I thought he had a really good draft. And the thing that I was really hammering home with this offseason that I wanted the Giants to do, which they did perfectly, was not sign players to long-term contracts. I want them to keep that cap flexibility open long-term. Nobody signed to longer than a 3-year deal. So I love everything they did, and I see no reason to make a move right now. I think there's people that hate Dave Gettleman, and I feel like there's almost people that want him, like, they want the Giants to suck because they want to be proven right. Yeah. And it's like, Dave Gettleman has done a really good job this offseason. Give him credit. Move on. You lost. He's done a good job. The rebuild's working. Accept it. Let him be your GM for another year. Let him at least see this rebuild through. That's my opinion on it. I think the Giants are definitely headed down the right path, and I think he has a lot to do with it.
Of course, and I agree 100%. It just seems weird. It's like why are people rooting against him? I mean, again, if you want to criticize him for things that he did in the past, like you said, the Ogletree trade, even the Nate Solder deal, obviously he's getting paid a lot of money, not the elite left tackle that they hoped he would be. There's definitely moves here and there that I don't agree with. Even this past draft,
maybe you could criticize him for Pierre Paul, who's worked out.
Pierre Paul being traded. Even this past draft, I thought they probably should have drafted a wide receiver. They didn't take a wide receiver at all. I thought that was kind of odd. There's definitely things to criticize him, but like you said, he pretty much had a flawless offseason. I mean, he hit on just about every move that he made, and right now they're in a position, they're in first place in the NFC. So I want to move on to a very interesting story here. Not really completely Giants related, but the Jordan Renan thing, all right? We all did videos on it. We all commented on it. It was weird. I've never seen a reporter complain that people read his stuff. That's what he's complaining about, that people read his stuff and see his reports. So I did a video and I said, he used the word steal, that people like us, I guess, steal his information, which I don't know, a guy that tweets it out and writes articles, I don't think we're stealing it. He's putting it out there. Weird. And that we profit off it and all that stuff. So with the Jordan Renan thing, what's your take on that? What was the deal with that? I want to hear your side of this.
All right. As far as the Jordan Renan thing, when I first saw the quote, the funny thing is, I have a Discord. Do you know what a Discord is? I don't know if you do.
No.
It's basically like a chat room, which a bunch of my subscribers asked me to make. So the guy who sent them that tweet is in my Discord. And
okay.
And I even told the guy, I said, you're probably out of line there. I understood why Jordan Renan was upset, because I'm not completely anti-media, okay? I'm not one of these guys that thinks everything the media does is out to create drama. And maybe Jordan Renan does a great job. Sometimes I quote him, like you said in your video. Sometimes I quote the guy, whatever.
Yep.
It is what it is, and I respect those guys. Those guys go out, they get sources. I can't do that. I don't have, whatever connections to the team to be able to talk to people. So I give him credit for that, and I do it in every one of my videos. I always quote him, and maybe he wasn't talking about people like us, but the mistake he made was he made it an umbrella statement. And then I listened to his podcast, and he said he was talking more about people on Instagram that are basically saying they're breaking the news. But regardless, it was a very dumb thing for him to say. I'm sure he lost a lot of followers because of it. And at the end of the day, people come to us because they're sick of listening to people like him. They know that he's controlled, and he can't say things that we could say. And that's why people come to YouTube. They want to get our opinions, and people value our opinions. And I think we're going to start to get more and more respected as it grows. And maybe he doesn't respect us, but soon he'll have to, I think. I think this is only going to get bigger. And I don't want to hate the guy, but I thought it was a really dumb thing for him to say. Let's put it that way.
I agree. And then we had the conflicting report this week where he had said that Daniel Jones's injury was pretty bad. Yeah. He's going to miss some, I'm thinking pretty bad. He's already out multiple weeks. Maybe he's missing a month of football. And then Ian Rappaport comes out the next morning and he says, oh, no, he avoided major injury and he could play this week. He probably won't, but he could play. It's two completely different reports.
What that is. You know what that is. That's clickbait. He chose his words so people would panic and click his article and see what he means. And that's the way he worded it, because technically he could say, well, pretty bad could mean a week. But that's what he did. It was clickbait. That's what he did. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what he did. You see tons of YouTubers do that too. It's not just the media. I'm on YouTube. People say that's what that was. He was trying to get clicks. So let's be fair. Let's be honest, Jordan, if you're watching, you were trying to get clicks.
Yeah. Crazy week for Jordan Renan. He's getting picking fights here. So I want to end on one last question, okay?
Yeah.
You have 2 votes for the Pro Bowl. You only get 2 here for the Giants. They got some interesting players in their defense specifically. You're talking about James Bradbury, Leonard Williams, Blake Martinez, Logan Ryan, even kind of Jabril Peppers. He's starting to creep in there. You get 2 votes for the Pro Bowl. Who are you going with here?
You didn't even mention my first guy. Graham Gano.
Oh, I didn't?
Graham Gano.
Graham Gano. Yes.
Graham Gano's got to go. He's got to go. He's been so good. But if we don't want to count kickers because that's a boring position, I would go. I got to go Bradbury. I got to give Bradbury a nod. It'd have to be on the defense. I think both of them would have to be on the defense. I would go Bradbury. And you know what? You know what it is though. He missed a couple of weeks because of injury, but Peppers has played so well.
Yes.
I might go Bradbury and Peppers. If not Peppers, maybe Logan Ryan. I might go Logan Ryan. And Martinez has been really good too, but it's tough. I want all 4 of them to make it. But if I had to pick 2, I'll say for sure Bradbury, and Peppers and Ryan's like neck and neck for me.
Yeah, I mean, Bradbury, I think he's kind of all pro. He's kind of in all pro territory right now. What an addition! I can't believe Carolina let him go at his age. It just seems weird to me.
I always thought he was so underrated because in that division he was shutting down. He was playing Mike Evans. He was playing Julio Jones. He was playing who's the other team? Why am I drawing a brain for it? The Bucks, the Panthers, whatever it was. He was playing the best wide receivers in the league.
Michael Thomas
with the Saints, yeah. And he held them all under 100 yards in 6 games last year. So I didn't understand why they let him go. And he obviously's got ties to Gettleman. Gettleman drafted him in the second round. And I think he had a lot to do with that. But, yeah, I'm a big Bradbury guy. I love that pickup.
Yeah, Bradbury's been outstanding. And like you said before with Logan Ryan, his pass rating right now is 70. He's a 70 pass rating. He's been targeted like 45 times too, so it's not even like a small sample size. And he's just one of those players who like does everything. He gets up to the quarterback. He's got like 50-plus tackles. That's a guy that you want on your team. It's just like a chess piece. And then you have Xavier McKinney, a young player who.
How about Darnay Holmes? Darnay Holmes played good this week too.
Darnay Holmes, I don't think he's allowed
for the Pro Bowl, but I'm just talking about the secondary.
No, of course, yeah.
Yeah, they've been so good. I could talk about the defense for 4 hours. I'm so impressed with this defense, and I'm so happy that we're headed in the right direction. Next year, I made a video today. I think we're winning the division. Like, we might win it this year, but next year I think we're going to win at least 9 or 10 games. I think we're really trending in the right direction.
And like you said, in terms of the contract situation, they really didn't lock too many players up for long term. And Martinez and Bradbury, those are 3-year contracts right there. So they have a chance to go back out in free agency and still add a difference maker. I know a lot of people want an edge rusher, maybe a wide receiver.
Let me ask you that. I know you're asking the questions. Let me ask you that. If it was up to you,
yes.
Say you got $20 million to spend in free agency, and say we have don't give me a player, but what would be the position you would draft, and what would be the position you would sign in free agency if it was up to you right now?
So we're talking about first round draft pick?
Yeah.
So every year it seems like the draft is very deep at wide receiver. So I know a lot of people want wide receiver in the first round, especially let's say they don't win the division and they have like a top 10 pick-ish around there. I would actually take a wide receiver later in the draft, maybe even second, third round. First round, if they can find an edge rusher, I think if they can go edge rusher in the first round, and I would like to see what the cornerback situation is in free agency, because I think if they really get a cornerback too, you get a first round edge rusher, especially Lorenzo Carter and Ocean Eximnis. I like those guys a lot. I think their upside is very high, but now they're coming off an injury. This was kind of the year for especially a player like I feel like Eximnis to really prove himself, because Carter really started to come on and really started to play well, and I think he's a guy you start next year.
I love Carter. So, I think Carter fits this scheme beautifully. I just hope he comes back healthy, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, if he comes back healthy, I think he's hands down a starter. He was playing almost like 99% of snaps anyway, so that's what I think he's a starter. Eximnis, I like him a lot, but we'll see if he's a true starter. We haven't really got to see that just yet. So I wouldn't mind going edge rusher in the first round, get some more pass rushers. And then if they can find a second cornerback in free agency along with Bradbury, even just an above average player, I think their defense is set up in a really, really good spot, especially wide receiver in the second round. Offensive line.
I think like you, I'm leaning right now corner in the front. I think we need that corner. Like we want to be a blitz happy defense. We have to be able to play man cover press, and I feel like we're not blitzing as much as we'd like because of that. Even though Yadam's played well the last 3 or 4 weeks, I'm gonna give him credit. But I do think that you hit on the 3 needs. I think it's wide receiver, I think it's edge, and I think it's a corner, and maybe a coverage linebacker. I think we could use that too. But those are that's what I'm looking at as well. Maybe some depth on the offensive line as well. But in the first round, I'm with you. I'm either going I want to go defense. I want to go corner or edge in the first round.
100%. Chris, Thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. You're awesome. Obviously, I'll put your channel link in the description below. So it's going to be an interesting season. Hopefully, we'll do this every week. If that's what you want to do, I'm down for it. Do a weekly show on our channels. That'd be pretty cool. But thanks again for joining me. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Anytime, man. Love working with you. Keep doing what you're doing, and let's beat Seattle this week. I don't care that Colt McCoy's done. Let's beat Seattle this week.
Sounds good. All right. Thanks, Chris.